Hey, it's Les from Comfortable Shoes Studio, and this is another episode of Art Making. I am doing a couple more images from my 100 Heads series, and this is a little bit of a challenge for me to do the 100 heads and keep with it, but here we are. So, for the chat while I draw portion of this, I really want to talk about repetition and why I do repetitive images. So it's sort of like, why do the same thing over and over and over again? And, same as in same thematic um, imagery. So, like portraits, cars, urban sketching, buildings, things like that. So, sort of a continuation of a theme and drawing something similar, not necessarily the same thing over and over and over again, but similar things, things in a series, if you will. And this is one of those things that happens when I am trying to learn how to do something. So, in the case of portraits, God, what's it been like 13 years ago? I decided I wanted to draw portraits better. I think you can see some videos earlier on in this channel from like 13, maybe even further back, 13, 14 years ago, where I drew portraits. And they weren't very good. And that bothered me. And set out to learn how to draw portraits better. And better being whatever it is you determine it is. In my case, I wanted to kind of capture the essence of the person, not necessarily complete perfect realism, but sort of the idea of who I was trying to capture. So I kind of wanted to be able to tell who the person was. Like if you look at my drawing and you look at, the person, you would see that there's some similarity there, right? Like that's my hope anyway. And so I set out, 13, 14 years ago to do this better in whatever way that meant to me. And so that meant I had to draw lots of people. I had to draw lots of images. I drew a lot from the Library of Congress archives where they load up photos of everyday life from, historical documents. They have images of people from newspapers, just real people, real photos, unedited photos. And that's a big thing of what I try to capture as I'm doing these images. I am trying to capture images of people that have not been edited. So I'm getting really real looks at what people look like. Um, and so I've been drawing from Earth's World's Instagram account. That's where all of these images in this video come from. I'm drawing from those. So, but anyway, let's talk about what I'm learning here. So when I draw faces over and over and over again, what am I learning? First off, I'm learning how to capture different faces, different shapes of faces. Everyone's face is a slightly different shape. Everyone's eyes are a slightly different shape. Your nose is different than someone else's nose. Lips are different from someone else's lips. Your jawline is going to be different. Even over time, if I were to draw the same person, like let's say I took a self portrait, took a selfie, every day for a month. I'm going to look a little different based off of lighting, camera angle, and maybe I'm bloated that day, or maybe something is going on. Like right now, my eyes are puffy because it's allergy season, and that's what happens to my face. And so you learn a lot about the shape of the human face by doing portraits again and again and again, drawing from either people you see or from photographs. And so, like, really, what I'm looking to do is kind of familiarize myself with the generalities of the human face so that I can capture them more accurately over time. I'm also looking at, where are my portraits off? Like, where am I not capturing things in a way that actually captures that person? So I'm looking at, like, where the eyes are off, where is the nose off? And I'm looking at things like, how are my proportions? So in all of these images, I'm recognizing, like, hey, I have a tendency to draw the nose much larger than it actually is. I have a tendency to make the lips larger than they actually are. I have a tendency to enlarge the chin. So, I might get the eyes perfect and spot on, but then that nose might be a little too long, and the distance between the nose and the upper lip might be a little too distant. Um, the lips might end up larger. I might not be lining up the corners of those lips with where they actually line up on the eyes. Um, and, those are just things that you start to recognize over time. Like, this is a thing that I do. And how do I compensate for that? Again, I'm not going for perfection here. I'm not going for perfect realism. I'm attempting to capture the vibe of the person that I'm looking at, and I'm just trying to get more comfortable with whatever it is I'm drawing in a series. So, like in this case, I'm doing portraits. In the case of the cars and vehicles, I'm learning how to draw those better. How do I capture the contour line or the shadows of a vehicle so that it looks more like a vehicle or the vehicle I'm attempting to represent on my images? And it's not throwing the image of the final image off. It's really looking like the actual scene that I was looking at. And I think that's the difficult thing is like staying real, but also not sweating it. Like not getting upset if my images are maybe a touch off or not quite where I want them to be. Just allowing myself to learn from my mistakes, but also allowing myself to have a style. So, like I have over the course of, you know, more than however many faces or portraits that I've drawn, I probably did have done, 1,000 at this point, if not more than 1,000, probably a couple of thousand of portraits. If I went through all of my sketchbooks and I counted all of the portraits, how many would there be? There'd have to be at least 1,000 at this point, um, if not several thousand. So, I have learned a lot over the last 14 years of drawing portraits in terms of like, what do my portraits look like? What is my style like? And I'm gaining comfort in the fact that I have a style, my everything's going to be a little not quite right, not totally realistic. There's going to be a stylized aspect to what these images look like. And that's okay. It's okay to have a style. It's okay to develop that style. And I'm feeling much more comfortable with that. I feel like my accuracy has come along a long way in terms of like capturing the essence of the person's vibe. And that's really the whole reason for me to do these portraits, to do a challenge like 100 heads, or to challenge myself to draw wonky vehicles. Like that challenge for me really is about learning how to do something and exploring how I draw it and where am I off? How do I get myself back on track in terms of capturing these people that I'm looking at? And that is really, in my mind, what it's all about is capturing the vibe and essence of a person, of the vehicle that I'm looking at. That's what this is all about. It's about learning. Also, I talked a little bit about feeling connected when I am drawing from life or observation. And I think that goes for drawing from portraits as well. When I closely observe a person to draw them, I feel connected to them, even if I don't know them. If I'm drawing someone in public, maybe I don't know them personally, but there's something intimate about drawing a person from life. You're giving that person whole concentrated attention, and that is really something that is quite relaxing for me. It makes me feel really connected to the person and the world around me. It's the same when I am drawing from observation out and about. If I'm drawing a tree or a leaf or a flower or whatever have you, that direct observation of the object makes me feel more connected to it and connected to the world around me. This is something that I began to recognize when I was riding my bike a lot last year, and I'm starting to recognize it again. I was out in nature or on the road, and I was feeling really connected to the world around me. And I really think that there are some things that we do as human beings that really lead and foster connection between us and other people and the world around us. I've always been a bit of a environmental nutbag, really into recycling and using recycled materials. Part of the reason I started using fountain pens is that they're refillable. I'm not throwing away a pen at the end of this. And that's always been something that's really important to me. Even though I know, recycling is a bit of a lie now. Did watch that documentary and it was heartbreaking, but feeling that connectedness through my pen, through my drawings, and through the conversation here on YouTube and, perhaps hopefully in the future, other places, um, really is meaningful, I think, for me in terms of like the art making, the riding my bike, and all of that. Like, there's that sense of connection to the world that you don't get easily. And I think that's one of those things that happens in my art space at work. We foster connection between the kids in the space, the kids and their community and all of that. And I really feel that in revamping this and reworking this YouTube channel is like that sense of connection. And that's really, really important. Um, so yeah, with that, I'm going to take a moment to say thank you for being here. I really enjoy, like I said, the connection, the community aspect of YouTube. I enjoy your comments, your thumbs up, the likes, and all of that you leave behind. Leave a comment about what you learn from doing repetitive art making. Is there something that really helps you in your art making? And feeling connected with the world around you, and what are the things that you've learned by doing a challenge like the 100 heads challenge, or ICAD? What is, like, what leads you to connection? What have you learned through these various challenges and whatnot? Anyway, with that, I say thank you, and I will see you next time. Bye.